on the southern border. Former President Trump touring the border with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Here to react, Congressman Buddy Carter, who joined President Trump on his tour. Congressman, good morning to you. Want to start with seeing what it was like to be down there on the southern border with President Trump and actually have a former commander-in-chief who takes the crisis on the border seriously.
Well, you're exactly right. Donald Trump did take the border crisis seriously, and I would submit to you that we had the most secure border ever when Donald Trump was president. And you know, if Kamala Harris, if Joe Biden want to understand what's happening at the border, all they need to do is look in the mirror, because what they've done is they've reversed the Trump policies, and as a result of that, we've got a crisis at the border. We've got people flowing across that border. On Tuesday night, we went to the border late at night, around 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, and saw just children coming across that border at night. It is a porous border, and, you know, doing away with the Trump policies that were working, building the wall, the stay in Mexico policy, the Title 42, all of those things are extremely important, and they work. Now, look what has happened in the 93 days since Kamala Harris has been put in as the border czar. We've had over 500,000 people that we know of came across that border. We've had more fentanyl come across that border in the first 4 months of this year to kill every American 4 times over. Right. We're seeing the cartels that are making so much money off of the human trafficking. It's estimated they make anywhere from $720 to $750 million a month just through human trafficking. All of that has resulted in what we are seeing at the border, which is a humanitarian crisis, a national security crisis, and really is just embarrassing for this nation. I
mean, it's really shocking. We're approaching nearly 300,000 gotaways and counting, people who have crossed our border illegally, and we have no idea who they are or where they're going, probably to a town near you. President Trump telling our very own Ellen Robinson the officials are either really dumb or grossly incompetent. I'm inclined to believe it is a mixture of the two. What are your thoughts?
I would agree. I would agree. And you know, Kamala Harris said they're making progress. I didn't see any progress. This is the second time I've been to the border this year, and the 4th time I've been to the border since I've been a member of Congress. And I haven't seen any progress since the first of the year when I was down there earlier this year. And where she gets this from, and don't misunderstand where she was at. She was 800 miles away from the epicenter, if you will, of the real problem, which is in the Rio Grande Valley sector of the border. She was in El Paso, 800 miles away. She did not, even the Democrats admit, even members of her own party admit she was in the wrong place. Right. She was not seeing an accurate depiction of what is going on here. We saw it when we were in McAllen. The president saw it. He pointed it out, as you stated. It's either incompetence or it's just they're just kidding themselves, and I don't know which one it is.
It's crazy. People, it's like saying you want to find out about the magic of Disney and taking people to Epcot Center. But quickly, I want to switch gears over to Dr. Fauci. You've called for him to be fired. It seems there's a lot of evidence to suggest, from the emails to now we do know about the lab in China, the active ideas of gain of function. Talk to us about why you believe that he needs to be removed from the public sphere once and for all.
Well, there's no question about it. Dr. Fauci is more concerned about staying relevant than he is about seeking the truth as to the origin of this. And he's so concerned with remaining relevant. He's so concerned with downplaying the significance of Donald Trump's role in making sure that we were taking care of this pandemic, and that he's even resorted to lying, and he's been caught lying when he was saying that he didn't know why the NIH funding to Ego Health Alliance was discontinued. It was obvious through his emails and through later statements that he did know why. He did know that Donald Trump was the one that ordered that. He did that because he did not want Donald Trump to get credit for it. So we need someone who's more concerned about seeking the truth as opposed to making sure that their own PR campaign stays relevant.
Amen to that. Now, I'd be remiss not to ask you, since Election Day 2020, Georgia has been on everyone's mind. What are your thoughts about what's happening in Georgia, the primaries we see there, and the rumor on the street that you may be considering hopping in that Georgia Senate race yourself, Congressman?
Well, certainly we have gotten news here recently that Herschel Walker is considering running and that he's going to mount a campaign. Herschel Walker will be a great candidate. He is a fighter and he can win, and I'm certainly going to support him if he runs. If he does not run, then I certainly will be running, because we've got to have someone who's going to fight. We've got to have someone who's going to win. Herschel can do that. I can do that. If Herschel does indeed go through with his campaign, then I'll be right there behind him 110%.
All right. Well, you heard it here first on Newsmax. All right. Congressman Buddy Carter, good to see you, my friend. We'll talk.